furaha ambayo mpaka saa hii we have not recovered from that happiness because it was really a trauma, but now that he has come, hiyo mambo yote ya shida na nini, let us just keep it behind us. Piga kelele mpaka ikasikika na ikaweza ya kwamba tumempata Billy akiwa hai. Na of course kwanza ni kushtumu with all the strongest ones possible, the abduction, the abductors and anybody engaged in this shenanigan of kidnapping our son.
Meanwhile, Peter Motete was found in Nairobi's bustling central business district, but witnesses described him as disoriented and struggling to process what had happened. He is now recovering at home. Ronnie Kiplagatu's case had initially left his family desperate for answers. He was located in Machakos County, far from where he was abducted. Similarly, Bernard Kavuli, who was seized in Ngong, was discovered in Kitale. Both men faced immense challenges reconnecting with their families, underscoring the confusion and fear that accompany such disappearances. As the crisis deepens, the call for justice and accountability grows louder. The return for 4 victims offers a glimpse of hope, but the experiences are part of a much larger troubling pattern that activists and citizens alike are demanding to be addressed.
Be the last people to go through that ordeal. Na mimi, I want to take this opportunity to say we are even going to look at how we can change our laws to ensure if such a thing happens, the government first stops, because one of us is all of us.
Martin Masharia for EBN TV.
Well, it's great. Many more were actually released overnight. So let's hope we are seeing the end of this kind of habit in our country. We thank God that they are out. You know, when clouds gather, dark clouds, let's look out for the silvering around them. Now, Mary County's new year began on a politically charged note during a covenant service at MCK Shabone Church in North Imenti. The event, graced by Youthful Water and Sanitation Cabinet Secretary Eric Mureithi as the chief guest, became a platform for fiery exchange and political undertones. The service took a contentious turn when Mary Muthoni, a UDA-nominated member of parliament, alleged that the government had no role in the recent spate of abduction, suggesting they might be politically staged for mileage. Her remarks sparked discontent among the crowd and fellow politicians. Abogeta West MCA DMK Kiogora condemned the government for the ongoing abduction, calling for adherence to the rule of law rather than resorting to abduction and torture.
We are not sure. I'm not exonerating anyone from abductions, but I want to say without any fear of contradiction, the government cannot be part of killing children of people. Hiyo sio kazi. Hapana, hiyo sio kazi ya serikali. Yes, najua. Aya, nimewasikia. Ngojeni nimalize. Na ninamalizia nikisema hivi.
My friend, kama ni yeye anafanya, kwani hamna nguvu ya kumshika? Na muende kwake, kama ni nyumbani kwake ameficha vijana, mtoe. Msitubebe anabu bwana. Msitubebe ujinga. We know what is going on. We are not foolish. Kwa hivyo mambo ya kushikashika vijana hapa italeta serious dissent in this country. We cannot go back to the dark days of the Moi era when people used to be jailed at the Nyayo chambers. Na watu wanapigwa. Na watu wanauawa, watu wanamemiwa. So we cannot go back to those days. We must condemn it. No matter who is doing it, we must condemn it. Not the Inspector General of Police, ukiambiwa wetu wa vijana, you cannot tell us you don't have intelligence of who is kidnapping young people. Kwa hivyo msitubebe ujinga ati ni Gachagua anafanya. Kwani Gachagua ako na prison kwake nyumbani mahali anajeli watu. Na kama ako nayo, ingieni huko mtoe hao vijana. Chani kutubeba ufala bwana. We know these things.
Hatuko sawa kwa sababu ndoto za viongozi wengi vijana za kisiasa, waheshimiwa wa Meru County Assembly, ziko at the verge of diminishing kwa sababu ya uongozi ambao si wa kiungu, uongozi ambao hauheshimu katiba ya Kenya.
Yeah, there was a time, I think it's President William Ruto who said that the pond of foolish people is diminishing in the country. So there's some statements that simply won't buy. Anyway, the politics of abduction dominated and will continue dominating this week as civil society groups and a section of Kisumu residents condemned the government over state-linked abduction of its critics and stifling of the freedom of expression in the country. Speaking at a different location in Kisumu while avoiding confrontation with a contingent of police that were on standby at the Oginga Odinga sports ground, where they had planned to address the media and later on proceeded with demonstration. The group castigated the government and sympathizers over what they term as blatant disregard to the Constitution. They're now demanding an immediate stop to reckless remarks by leaders allied to the government, release of all abductees, publication of a list of all abducted, legal prosecution of those responsible for the abduction, waived bonds and bails to those that were arrested during demonstration, compensation and treatment to post-protest and abduction victims.
I have a message for Ruto. I have a message for Duale.
You are not elected to come and protect governments who are torturing the citizens of this country. I want to tell people like Junet Mohamed, you have to understand that you are not in the government. You are elected because you are in opposition. Yes, opposition. Secondly, I want to tell Joe, Kenya elected you because you are fighting for the right of the people. But as we speak today, you have turned out to be a puppet of the government. We want to remind you that we cannot sleep, we will not sleep, and therefore we will also view you as the enemy of Kenyans.
The safety and well-being of all those abducted remains our priority, considering that the abductees are being held outside of the protection of the law. The nature of abduction resembles raids carried out by government security agencies during the attempts to deal with the Gen Z protesters. Our collective pain as people is therefore directed at the government of the day, especially the National Police Services, for failing to protect Kenyans and the selective application of the law.
Reparations for all survivors and compensation for families of victims of this violence be rolled out. The state should also, with immediate effect, take up the treatment costs until full recovery for all those who need medical attention from effects of post-protest. An immediate stop to reckless remarks by leaders, especially from the leading parties who have polarized this country, branded any dissenting voices as anarchists.
Article 33 of the Kenyan Constitution provides for freedom of expression. And the only limitations to this freedom are explicitly guaranteed in the same Article 33. So we are really dumbfounded that a president can be so trivial with his rogue regime to the extent that they are abducting, killing, maiming citizens who are expressing their frustration, whether artistic or otherwise.
That's exactly what was happening yesterday in Kisumu. Remember, there was planned demonstrations, but they never happened. Now, the Catholic Church has called on the Kenyan government to address the issue of abductions and provide answers to the public. Bishop Alfred Rotich of the Catholic Diocese of Kericho reiterated his plea during the opening of the Jubilee Year of Hope in his diocese. He appealed to the government for mercy and clemency, urging that the country's political challenges be addressed through dialogue. The bishop emphasized the need for the government to utilize its resources to give Kenyans the clarity and the answers that they seek.
The politics, the way we live in our country is a result of the mess in our politics. We have taken it to be what we call auctioneering. But if it was really to serve the people, there is a process, and those processes have been provided by the Constitution. So let us not be afraid. All I am asking now, even if they are alleged abduction, as a church, we appeal. I am not going to go into the depths because the government have the tools to research. And if there is a cry from whatever corner that there is a Kenyan, not only in abduction, but every Kenya, a Kenyan citizen, the government ought to take care of that, to provide the dignity, to provide all the means possible to secure that life. The government has the right, has the what it takes to provide security to his own plan. I wish to appeal that they too have mercy. I wish to appeal that there will be a clemency also in terms of if there is any wrong, if a country, if people are always making mistakes, we have a place where we can take them and to use all the means like the right steps on the structures of government in order by way of following the law. So I want to appeal that we use this opportunity and to ask Kenyans that yes, when we ask this question, ask them truthfully, identify, report them, and then look at the instruments that government has provided, and if it is not adequate, continue to press, but in a way that is not destroying life, because no two wrongs can make a right.
By the way, if you have noticed that there is an increase in traffic jams starting yesterday, it's because the students were going back to school. And in fact, like yesterday, the CS Education, Julius Migos, visited several schools in Kajiado County to assess the situation when the students opened the school for the first time. Some of them will be reporting today. Migos said that the Ministry of Education is trying to establish strategies to ensure that the students who join grade 9 continue with their studies without worrying. Migos said among the strategies that the ministry has put in place to ensure there is enough classes and with teachers and textbooks have been supplied.
A program of ensuring that we have the infrastructure in place, including the construction of the 16,000 classrooms that were required to allow the transition to be smooth. As a ministry, we've managed to do a total of about 14,500 classrooms of those 16,000. That is together with the ones that we are partnering with the national government CDF programs. And this means that we are almost over 90% of the construction. So we came round to confirm that these classrooms have been done, and we're going to continue going around to check, even in those areas where classrooms have not been done, what arrangements we are put in place to ensure that the transition is smooth.
Kama mbunge, mimi haja yangu ni kuona kwamba watoto wangu wote wako ndani ya madarasa na kupitia NGCDF na usaidizi wa Ministry, State Department of Education, we will have all the classes. The only challenge I'm appealing to them is that the issue of desk is a problem because they were not factored in. Na nafikiri hiyo ni muhimu. Tukifanya supplementary budget, we budget for lockers ili kila mtoto apate locker yake, kwa sababu kuambia mzazi arudi kwa mfuko huenda itakuwa ni shida na uwezo wao. But I'm also appealing to parents, let us partner together where possible. Kajiado North has 8 giant schools ambazo zimepata madarasa 8 kwa sababu ya population ile tuko nayo. Na ndio tukiambia watu kwamba
Well, the Ministry of Education is not out of the wood yet, as they have announced that it's experiencing anomalies as it prepares to roll out the first grade 9 cohort. Speaking yesterday, the Education Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang stated that there are fewer classrooms to accommodate the learners, and it will have to improvise to ensure that, the no disruption of education takes place. Kipsang noted that some classrooms will be congested for around 30 days as the ministry works on constructing more. So far, Kipsang says that 13,500 classes have been completed out of the required 16,000. The ministry is constructing 11,000 classes, while the remainder will be built with the NG County Development Fund or NGCDF.
And saying that we domicile junior school in primary school also gave us an opportunity, and it was a better and cheaper option because it meant we were only going to create and build facilities for only one class, grade 9. Because if we had domiciled it at high school, then our current senior school is having 4 classrooms. That is Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, and Form 4. So if Kenyans had said we domicile in senior school, then it would have meant building 2 extra classrooms in that particular environment. When we did an assessment, we realized that we needed 16,000 classrooms to be able to settle our children in grade 9. And when we looked at resources, looked at the way that we were going to do it, we engaged with our members of parliament, the National Assembly. We told them that we wanted to partner in developing classrooms. CDF has done for us 3,000 classrooms, which are ready and available for use. There are still another 2,000 at various levels of development. We at the Ministry of Education, as of this morning, we have done 10,500 classrooms ready out of the 11,000 that we were to do. I want to also confirm that across the country, we have distributed 9.9 million books to our schools for all the learning areas on a ratio of 1:1. Any school that has not received books is not because books were not available. It is because maybe on the day that the books were being taken, either because the schools were closed, there was nobody to receive the books, but the books have been printed. All the teachers, the 20,000 that were taken in for internship as additional teachers, the 46,000 teachers who are converted to permanent and pensionable, they already got their posting and confirmation letters. As you are aware earlier, we had upgraded more than 10,000 teachers who are teaching in our primary schools. There is an assessment that they have already, an additional number again will be upgraded. But as we talk now, we have more than 80,000 teachers who can teach at our junior schools.
You know, the most interesting thing about Bello Kipsang, he's been in that ministry for quite a while now, because I think he was there from the very beginning of President Uhuru Kenyatta's reign. I don't know whether he was there during Kibaki's reign, but he's handled that ministry pretty well as the principal secretary, so I believe he knows his way around it. And when you listen to him speaking, you can tell this is a guy who knows his way around that particular ministry. So I think he's done a good job. Anyway, it was a victory for NARC Kenya party leader Martha Karua after the Ugandan Law Council handed the politician cum lawyer a temporary practice certificate on Ugandan jurisdiction. This is after the Law Council convened a special meeting yesterday to reconsider her application after it was initially rejected on the 6th of December last year. Now, the approval means that Karua can now represent Uganda's opposition leader Kizza Besigye in the ongoing case in Uganda's court martial. Following the granting of the practicing certificate, Karua will be able to represent her clients on the Ugandan soil in court, effectively starting the 7th, that is today, of January. To practice in Uganda, Karua was required to lodge a formal application since she's from a different legal jurisdiction. All right, that should be very interesting for Martha Karua. Now we cross over to some of the region she comes from, where Embu leaders and residents have condemned the growing culture of political intolerance that has been witnessed on several occasions, where leaders have been heckled in public. The remarks come in the wake of a heckling of President William Ruto 2 months ago when he graced the ordination of Embu Diocese Bishop Peter Kimani and the blocking of reading of eulogy from the president by the Public Service CS Justin Muturi during the burial of former Senator Lenny Kivuti's son on Friday. They said the trend, if not stopped, will taint the image of the county and scare away potential visitors and derail critical development projects. Speaking to the press, local leaders urge residents to embrace civility and hospitality, arguing that booing leaders only tarnishes the county's image.
Watu pia uliona walikataa speech ya president kusomwa. Hiyo mambo tumeyaona pia mahali kwingine. Kuna mahali pia walienda kusoma huko kwa Kang'ata. Pia tukaona wamekataa. Hiyo naona inafaa kwanza imwambie president ya kwamba ground ile alitayarisha ule wakati bado watu wanaigoja. Ground haijafika mahali watu walitarajia president. Delivery yake haijapatikana. Maisha ile ilikuwa ni ya mama huyu wa mboga na huyu mtu wa bodaboda, bado hiyo maisha wananchi hawajaifeel. What the president should know is akiona ya kwamba hapa Embu mahali alikuwa yeye alikuja akasema wakati nilikuwa napiga siasa nikisikia nimefinyika kabisa nilikuwa nakuja hapa Embu. Sasa akiona hiyo Embu hiyo iliyokuwa inampatia mahali pa kulala na iliyokuwa inampatia maneno ya kumtuliza, hiyo Embu sasa ndio iko kabisa imefinya kabisa. The president should know that yeye mwenyewe akae chini ajiulize ni nini anafanya kisichotakikana na wananchi.
Sisi tukiwa wakaanji wa hapa kwetu Embu na tukiwa wazaliwa wa hapa, sisi ni watu ambao tunaheshimu serikali sana. Hata ukisikia kuna watu wanakuja kuleta makerere, ni mzuri muwe mkijua hawa watu wanakuanga important, ndio wakuja kuleta nini political strife in this county.
They were the same leaders who organized the shouting down of the president during the inauguration of the Catholic bishop. Na hawa viongozi tunafaa tuambie ya kwamba we elected them so that they represent us at the table where development is shared, not in corners where violence and disrespect is organized. Na tunataka kusema hawa viongozi hatutakubali tena ya kwamba hapa Embu tutakuwa tunapanga maandamano, tunakuwa tunapanga vita ya kumtusi rais yule ambaye tunamtegemea atuletee maendeleo. It is unacceptable that leaders who are elected to represent us, leaders that are elected to bring us development, are the same ones that are bringing us down.
Well, I must admit, it's a way of expressing yourself. At least they've not been violent. If you're discontent with what a leader is doing, you are free to express yourself as long as you're not, you remain civil in the way you do things. Now, a section of church leaders in Siaya County have called for peace and unity amongst Kenyans in the year 2025. While condemning the kind of altercations witnessed between leaders during the burial of National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula's mother on Friday, the church leaders, led by Archbishop John Odinga Omoya of the African Church of Trinity, Kenya, stated that Kenya needs to embrace peace. The Archbishop has called on President William Ruto to ensure that Kenya is peaceful and united, saying that as a symbol of unity, the President must now come out strongly to unite all Kenyans for the sake of peace and prosperity. He also challenged the President to stand true to his words and ensure that the issue of abduction and unclear disappearances of innocent Kenyans are stopped once and for all, as he had promised towards the end of the year.
Tuweke amani ya nchi mbele, ndio maana tunaomba leo Mheshimiwa Rais Bwana William Ruto, umekuwa ukitembea Kenya, juzi tumeona umefika Siaya. Tunaomba kila mahali umeenda hapa Kenya, tunataka amani ihubiriwe kuanzia na wewe na mawaziri wako wote, kila mtu mpaka hapa chini, kwa sababu bila amani hatuwezi pata maendeleo. Cha pili ni kuwa Tumeona hapa nchi wazazi wanalia. Kuna watu wanashikwa, haswa vijana wamekuwa wakishikwa, wanapotea hivyo na miili yao inapatikana wamewawa. Atungependa hii jambo iendelee mbele. Na vile umesema juzi kwamba utakomesha. Kitu yenye unakomesha ni kitu unajua. Na Mheshimiwa Rais, tunaomba kama ni kitu unajua, tafadhali tunakuomba ambia wenye wanafanya hilo jambo wasimamishe na iwe mwisho kabisa, kwa sababu huwezi kama mzazi ukae kwa nyumba yako upate mtoto wako amepotea na uwe na furaha. Ni jambo mbaya sana. Tunaomba hii kitu ukomeshe kama rais wa nchi. Kuna mashule zinaenda kufunguliwa. Wazazi wanalia, pesa hakuna. Hata wewe kama rais nimesikia ukilia na waziri wako wa fedha kwamba uchumi ilikuwa mbaya, lakini mnajaribu kuitengeneza. Vile mmelia ndio vile sisi pia wazazi tunalia hapa chini. Tafadhali muongee na wakuu wa shule. Hata kama mzazi hana nini, ana kitabu, mtoto hana kitabu ama uniform, aruhusiwe aingie shule aanze, tutaleta pesa pole pole. Ni hayo ndio ningependa kuomba na sina mengi sana.
Ludhiambo Juma, the Secretary of the Africa Church of Trinity Kenya. The Secretary of Africa Church of Trinity Kenya. I stand here that we are today celebrating the new year 2025. I would like to wish the government that we as a church, we announce peace, and peace is everything. If you even have peace in the house, you have peace everywhere. So, to the politicians, when they are even coming to the churches to contribute or to donate Harambee to support our churches, let them come with peace and not to see all this we are seeing. People throwing chairs up and down. That is not peace. And for the politicians, let us wait until 2027.
It's a good thing to see members, the clergy basically speaking out on matters to do with justice in the country, because the throne of God is set up on the foundation of justice and righteousness. So justice is very important, whether be it social or economic justice. It's very, very important in the mind of God, because if you affect justice for the people, then you're out of tune with what God wants to do. And the church needs to be at the center of calling for justice, irrespective of what kind of justice. Now, Uasin Gishu Governor Dr. Jonathan B. Chelilim says that the shortage has been addressed, encouraging residents to utilize health facilities during the flag-off of medical supplies consignment worth 54 million shillings from the Kenya Medical Services Authority, or KEMSA, for distribution across 138 health facilities in the county. Governor B emphasized the importance of the supplies in enhancing healthcare as the county begins the new year. He reiterated his administration's commitment to improving and completing health facilities across the sub-counties, aiming at bringing quality healthcare closer to the people.
And I think the idea we had last year was every truck like this carrying drugs must be escorted by an official from executive, so that we will have a CBC or a CEO. Then the people took on a dawa. Kuna hivyo nasema kuna dawa. Sikusikia hakuna dawa. So you guys are msemi ukweli, sema kuna dawa. Whatever dawa is there, dawa ni. As we black all this, I'm very happy that our hospitals, other facilities, especially sub-county hospitals, are coming up. And I want to assure you that whatever we are doing for the people of Uasin Gishu and for the glory of God. Do you have an idea that we are coming up with a diagnostic center here, and we have put 200 million to start off? That's the idea. We want to make this place, very enviable. The same way we did for Mama Rachel Maternity Hospital.
All right, in a couple of minutes or so, my guest tells me he will not be able to make it. Something came up. We were supposed to look at how you need to plan your year out, put in place mechanism to ensure that no matter what happens, economically and otherwise, you have sorted out, you've written the script for the year, basically. And I have come to learn that you write the script of the year, the script that you want to act out this year, economically, socially, and personal growth also. Like per day, what do you do when at the end of the day, when you look back, you can be able to divide your life in different sectors. Your family, what you've done, have you achieved something for your nucleus family? Have you done something to improve yourself, your mental, emotional state, reading books? Because you see, I've come to learn that there are two aspects of life. There is your normal reading of stuff to do with this earth, different fields, your career, because what you're doing is you're gathering information that will help you to live on earth, to interact with the physical world that we are living in, so that you know what to do. You see, if you want to become a driver, you got to go to driving school. You have to learn how to operate the motor vehicle. You have to learn the traffic rules. You have to learn all these things. So you have to go study. And when you read, what you're doing is you're gathering information about how to operate on the road. So you have on a daily basis. When you read the Bible, you're gathering information on how to live in things to do with the other world, the spirit world, and definitely that world or affects this world. So you read things, you read biblical material to improve your knowledge of that world, and you also read things to do with this world, the career, the things that you're doing, self-help books, so that you improve your knowledge on how to operate on this world. So when your mind has got information on how to operate on this world and on this world and how to combine the two, then things start working out right. That's the one of the things that is so important. Let me give you a secret. I once I was doing training under the Fifth Estate, Mutahi Ngunyi's school, and one of the cultures that they have there that really impressed me is that every Friday at around 11 or thereabout, they have a meeting in the field in their place in Runda. They have a meeting. Their offices are in Runda. So they normally have a meeting every Friday from around 10, and it's in the field where you have to explain to the people what book you're reading. As in every Friday, so that next Friday you cannot be telling them about the book you were reading last Friday. So every week you must be reading a different book, and you are telling them more about the book and what you're learning out of the book. And so you can imagine the number of books the guys read. But he has a principle. He says you don't have to read a book from page 1 to 300 and finish it. He says, at different times you will feel like, I think I need to read The Power of Your Mind by Pastor Chris. And then tomorrow you're thinking, I need to read the book of, political science by so-and-so. So at every given time, you have a number of books that you're reading, and you have to finish them, obviously. But it's an interesting and a great way to train your mind. One of the lessons that I've learned in this life, and I saw it in a gentleman very close to me who, after retiring, the only thing, he was in a profession, he was a teacher. And you know, in teaching, you read a lot because you have to train, you have to teach your students. After retiring, the only thing he used to read was his newspaper. And then, you know, after a while, we started noticing that he was losing his memory, his mental acumen. Some of that aspect was starting to slow down. So I noticed if you don't engage your brain in either reading a book, and one of the best things is not the electronic books. Take the good old turning your page kind of book and read. It's mental exercise. It's an exercise for your brain, which they say your brain is a muscle. So if you don't use it, you lose it. So the more you're reading books, the more your brain becomes active. And as you age, you don't lose some of the faculties, because if you don't use them, you lose them. So as we organize on some of these things and how to prepare for this year, we'll look at financially, we'll also look at socially. You need a social life. I've noticed as people age, you get to a place that if you didn't have a group, people you used to interact with and you're interacting with, the quality also of your life starts diminishing, because a human being is a very social being. We are supposed to be close to people, talking to people, and showing people that we care for them. So socially, at the same time, join a chama here and there, interact with people. At the same time, economically, what are you going to do to achieve the economic independence that you're seeking for, from whatever level? What are you going to do? How do you plan with the little money that you got? How are you going to plan yourself to be able to achieve your goals? All these are possible. All these. And physically also, you're living in this body. If you don't do some exercise, your body is not going to be fit. And so you diminish the quality of your body, and you diminish the period of time that your body will be fit enough to accommodate you. So the fitter you become, exercise here, eating well. So we'll be looking at those things to make sure that this year, by the time we are talking December again, you are so fit. When you look back, you say, I am so glad that we listened and watched EBN at the beginning of the year, because our lives have transformed. Well, with that, we got to bring down the curtains on the show. Do have yourself a lovely morning. God bless you. Remember, at 9 a.m., we're going to have Your Faith today. We have a very interesting couple coming in. They're going to be doing some beautiful music. And then, Reverend Felix Cavoy is going to give you the word of faith. Basically tell you, let me just receive the newspapers first. Don't worry, this is Alan bringing the newspapers. Our newspaper guy had decided that he was going to read the newspaper from the front page to the end before he finally delivers them. But we're going to have Your Faith, where Reverend Felix Cavoy is going to talk to you about faith and how you need to deploy your faith in the year 2025, so that no matter what comes, you see, the issue is not what comes. The issue is how you've prepared yourself. How are you going to respond to what comes? Those things will come. But it's how you respond to them that is going to determine whether at the end of the year, utakuwa kusema, "Woi, Jesus, take me out of this world." Or you're going to say, "Wow, what a great ride that was." Okay, before we bring the curtains down, I know I'm taking the curtains down. Let me take them up again, just briefly. Okay, the Standard newspaper has queries as captivity horror tales emerge. This is a drum struck and traumatized 5 young Kenyans freed after a terrifying nearly 2 weeks in captivity, received an emotional reunion with their families. But question abound over who kidnapped them, where they were locked up, and the whereabouts of one other missing youth. One of the things that I noticed with these guys who were released, all of them were saying, I don't want to talk about, I don't want to talk about, I don't want to talk about. And that drives the heebie-jeebies. So questions should be asked. As parents struggle with high cost of textbook uniforms and travel, secrets of Nandi-resistant shrine in Aldai revealed after 120 years. And then tears of joy as 5 abducted youth reunite with their kin. And on page 5, you have a Subaru. They are messing up the name of Subaru. Now, some of us who have Subarus, when we drive around, people look at us funny. Anyway, silencing critics, how Ruto regime is stifling dissent. And then in the back page of the Standard, Liverpool title, charge slowed as Manchester United show signs of life. Then, Gachagua 2027 poll battle plan. A vengeful Rigathi is reaching out to other groupings. Former DP out to acquire party in poll battle as president plans new coalition. And then you got pictures of parents questioning, hii kitabu nauza hiyo pesa? Hii kitabu si last year muliuza 20 shillings. This year munauza 150. Hai. Anyway. Third page, farmhand who beat sick woman jailed for 15 years. Good for him. Then we have, Mount Kenya parties quoted for 2027. You know what Gachagua is trying now to see whether he can have a union, is including Jubilee, Democratic Party, the National Party, Tujibebe Party, the New Democrats Party, and Chama cha Kazi. And then there's disquiet in ODM of Odinga-Ruto deal as 2027 election plans begin. Wow, hey, Mama Kaya. Then the backstage, the sports star, battle hots up, race for Olympic Committee top seat intensify as polls loom. We got the Daily Nation, released by whom? That's a very good question that needs answers. I think that's one of the sweetest headlines you can have on a day like today. After more than 6 months since a spike in enforced disappearances, with at least 6 young Kenyans abducted in December alone, the DCI have little to show in terms of investigation. 5 of them were released yesterday in a seemingly coordinated manner in locations across the country. Weeks after police chiefs Douglas Kanja said that his officers have nothing to do with the kidnappings. Questions linger on the squads operating with impunity and precision. But who are they? Who are they? Then you have how corrupt officers pocketed needy learners' bursary cash. Water towers at risk. These guys pocketed money meant for poor learners. They pocketed bursary. I mean, how low do you get? How low can you get? You are pocketing bursary, money that is meant to help needy students. You're pocketing. An audit report has revealed that millions of bursary cash meant for needy learners could be ending up in the pockets of a few corrupt officers and members of parliament. And members of parliament. Okay, you have more stories of the abducted. No answers yet on squad that's behind spate of abduction. Lobby wants Kindiki, Murkomen and others to resign. How corrupt officers, this story has pained me. How do you steal money for bursary? These are poor students, needy students. You have denied them an education so that you can fill your stomach. The back page of The Nation, Al-Shabaab leader during Westgate Dusit attacks killed. The U.S. Africa Command says it initiated the strike. Who is this guy? He says Mohammed Mir Amamire was killed in airstrike 260 kilometers from Mogadishu. What goes round comes round. He used a bomb to kill and shot Kenyans, and now kaboom, kaboom, he's gone into eternity. And I wouldn't exchange places with him, not even for $1 grillion, because where he is, I believe he's gone without Christ, and it's not a good place to go. All right, now for real, I bring the curtains down on the show. Do have yourself a lovely morning. As I was saying, your faith today comes in at 9. Good morning.